Ready to make a difference? This is the Palm Harbor Chamber of Commerce podcast, where we connect you with the stories behind our local businesses.
Welcome to the Palm Harbor Chamber podcast. I'm your host, Kert Rhodes, and guess who we have today?
Brenda Rubio.
Oh, she brought up her own name. Thank you. Bren, how are we doing this morning?
Great.
Happy Friday to you.
Absolutely. Wonderful Friday today.
Yeah, so let's dive into it. Tell us a little bit about you. I know you're a residential real estate agent, right, for Berkshire Hathaway.
Absolutely.
Right? And how long have you been with them?
I've been with them for almost 5 years. I'm coming up on
Really?
an anniversary. Yes.
Wow, time flies.
It does fly. But I was teaching, so I wasn't full-time, and
right.
I dove into the full-time real estate. And it's been really exciting, and it's been, successful, thank goodness.
Good. So what were you teaching? Just curious. I don't want to get too involved in it. I remember you telling me, but I'm trying to...
So I did high school biology and environmental science.
High school biology.
Yeah, and so very data-driven, which kind of has helped me in my business because I absolutely believe the data, right? Data doesn't lie. And then when I got here, I still did science, but they saw all my certifications, and I wound up being a case manager for special education students and emotionally behaviorally disturbed.
Okay.
And so it was quite different, a challenge with
Yeah.
COVID.
Right.
When COVID came, it gave me, you're right, teaching from home, and no one had ever taught us how to do these things.
Yeah, it's wild. And you were from New Jersey, right?
Yes, originally I was born
So they were a little bit more strict up there than they were down here in Florida,
yeah, they
right?
were. Yeah, they were really locked down, and here they wanted us to go right back to school when the rest of the country was pretty much shut down, which
Right.
was scary, but that little lapse of time gave me the opportunity to go after the real estate license.
Okay.
And so it was
What
weird.
caught your attention though of being a real estate agent?
So
'Cause it's not an easy job. It's very, very difficult.
It's not, and
a lot of moving parts.
too many, and they're constantly changing. So what I am learning, like anything else, you have to evolve with whatever's in front of you. When I lived in New Jersey, we had a home, and I would go to pretty much every open house that was in the neighborhood.
Okay.
I just found it to be fun, looking at what people had, getting ideas, things of that nature. And then when we got here, we didn't sell our home right away. And we were doing that whole long distance, try to sell your home. And I'm not kidding. I wound up going there many times on a plane to try to take care of things. And in the end, everything would get sent to us, and we had to go through everything. And I did. And it was like, okay, and then it sold, when it finally sold.
Right.
And I'm looking at the numbers, and I'm going, I pretty much did everything that none of this was rocket science per se, right? And I felt like, wow. So then when we purchased our home here, this is a bad one. Here it comes. The confession is, I didn't use a realtor. Because I found out that, if the landlord owned the home on Lake Tarpon, and I'm like, well, why are we using? And I know. We used an attorney, right? But it was kind of like in the back of my head, like, well, all these people are grabbing money, and why, I want to look into this, and so I looked into it, and then COVID gave me the time to literally dive into the school part of it and get it.
I think you getting your real estate license in 2020, owning a title company was a very interesting time. Very interesting. I mean, literally the wild, wild west, because everybody was trying to buy. And you're thinking, oh my gosh, everybody has to stay home for the most part, right? And it's kind of like a lockdown, more or less. But everybody's buying houses online, watching videos. I want to buy that house.
Buying
contracts. Wow.
Buying
Wild West.
Buying without getting inspections. Buying
that was
definitely
mind blowing.
I was intimidated. I was absolutely intimidated. And a little personal story. I the week I got my license, I wasn't supposed to get it. I got canceled. My appointment which was going to be like in maybe 3 weeks, got canceled. COVID. There was a COVID outbreak at the testing center, and I'm like, I've been studying, and I was really upset. And I went online, and I looked, and the only appointment was like 7 a.m. in St. Pete tomorrow, and I was like, oh my God. And I don't know. I was like, you know what? I'm staying up all night, and I don't care what happens. I pulled an all-nighter, and I don't know what I was looking at, and went past, and it was like, whoa, you know.
Interesting.
2 days later, I had gone for some vision screening, and I was told I was going blind. So I was like, what? You know, like I went from like this massive high to...
Yeah, you're here. And you probably back
exactly.
Down.
Which was, followed by...
Yeah, that's
probably about eye-opening. A 2-year, literally a 2-year ordeal that, thank God, I do have vision.
Yeah.
It also, in some instances, forced me out of teaching. There was just too much reading and everything going on
there. So everything happens for a reason, right?
So I am so faithful, and I am so in tune with spirituality and the idea that everything, everything happens for a reason.
Right.
We don't know why, but ride that wave.
Yeah, ride that wave.
Ride that wave.
Yeah. So let's take a step back. What makes Bren, and her name is Brenda, but she goes by Bren.
I like Bren.
Yeah, I do too. What makes you tick? Because you have great personality.
Well, thank you.
You got great social skills. I mean, you could talk to anybody, which is great, right? That's probably great for the chamber. We'll talk about that later. But what makes you tick?
Honestly, my kids.
Okay.
My boys are finally 18 and 20.
Right.
But I'm one of I don't believe in that whole they're 18, they're not, they need, especially in the world we're living in, they need so much guidance, so much so that my poor son got into a really severe car accident that he was literally saved. I don't know how he survived, but he did, like almost like he was encapsulated and not touched, but his car was totaled, and this is a kid who works all day, and they both go to school, and they, so my motivation, I think, every day is making sure that they're okay, mentally, physically, certainly financially, being able to go to school, being able to pay for school, being able to, just whatever they need. They're my main motivator. Right. And then
You're there for them.
Exactly.
Every step of the way.
Yes.
And they know that.
Yes, they do. And then after that, honestly, I wake up grateful every day. I do my gratitudes. I do my affirmations before I even get out of bed.
Good for you.
And in this business, the one thing that I absolutely try to do is wake up and my clients are in my prayers. They really are, because I want to help them reach their goals.
Right.
But buying a home, selling a home, whether it's an investment, that's somebody putting themselves out there and saying, hey, I want the best scenario so that, I can have a passive income so I can retire. I want the best scenario so that my kids will have a college nest egg. I want the best scenario because I want to live in a safe neighborhood, or, I want to be able to afford it, and so, all of those things to me are very personal. Some people think that we're just out here wheeling and dealing, and that's not to me, we're helping people.
Yeah, I think people think, real estate agents, they think, they make, a lot of commissions and they don't really do much per se. But I think when you start to peel the onion back a little bit deeper and you figure out what a real estate agent does, I think when people actually get the experience of buying or selling a home, they actually realize, wow, there is a lot to deal with.
And now,
there's
even
a lot
more.
Of different people that got their hands in the I shouldn't say cookie jar, but they get their hands in that pot because they have to. Survey companies and homeowners insurance, and
inspections,
and I gotta get a loan, I gotta get approved, and we gotta get a title company, and just the list goes on and on and on, right?
And
So-
budgets, people's
Right.
budgets.
But you,
Oh yeah.
you have to keep everybody in line.
Yes, it's so true. And all the
much.
realtors
You're a coach.
that I meet, we're even coaching each other.
Right.
In an environment where you want to say the right things and literally motivate people to buy, or even to sell because they're
Right.
afraid of, whether it's the rate or
Yeah.
the timing.
A lot of
you know.
emotion involved in that, right?
It is very emotional
So you're
for
kind of like
many of
the
our.
psychologist.
I think it's like 99% psychology.
Right.
It really is.
My
And
wife's been doing this for 30 years, and that's one thing she said to me, and I've noticed it in the last 7 years that I've been doing this, having clear title with her, is you can tell the realtors that really know what's going on because they can really talk to everybody that's in their realm of that closing, that transaction, and keep them, I guess I'm going to use the word sane.
yes, and it's knowing
Because
when
it can unravel very quickly.
very
unfortunately.
quickly. And not only that, but knowing, I'll say this: it's like being a parent, right? When you're a parent, you want to save your kid from
Sure.
a lot of pain, right? And so
Steer 'em in the right
you
direction.
may not like say certain things, but you kind of are saying, hey, when it's time for you to say something, it has to be meaningful, and you didn't know all of this, but we're here. And the transaction can be like that. You have to be able to save your client from a lot of the background noise that might be happening because, I'm a firm believer of try not to go to them with a problem. Go to them with a solution after you've already figured out what the problem is, see what your sources are, so that when you come to your client, you say, hey, look, this is going on. However, we have choice A, B, or C of how we can move forward. Because if you're just going to spike up their adrenaline or their insulin or whatever that is, right, you're going to have people who are not having a good experience in the home buying process. And I don't think that's the reputation that any realtor wants to, or experience that you want to give, your clients.
Well, I think every transaction too has some speed bumps, right?
Yes,
And
absolutely.
some are bigger than others, but I think you have the smaller speed bumps, and I think you can have a very, very good, smooth closing.
Absolutely.
So I think that's why I think realtors really, the better realtors, I would say, really work hand in hand with I think the lender, with the title company, because they're kind of the crux of what's going to happen in this transaction. Because like we said before, those buyers and sellers, there's a lot of emotion.
And we're behind the scenes for sure.
Yes, first-time home buyers.
Absolutely.
They're like, oh my God, Bren, help me, right? And they're like, okay. And then you'd probably open up your Pandora box, right? And you tell you, okay, so what type of house you're looking for, what area, how much you looking to spend. I mean, so on and so forth.
We call them Ford questions. We're trying to find out their family, their occupation,
okay. Yeah.
right? Their motivation.
Right.
Where do they see themselves, right? The idea that, the relationships, what do they need from their community, right? Like if I don't like tennis, I shouldn't be buying somewhere where there's 5 pickleball courts. Like I'm not, right?
Or I'll buy a horse
it's not a
ranch.
fit,
Right.
So really getting to know our clients at a deeper level.
Yeah.
We always say relationships over transactions, and I keep in touch with even the transactions that I've had, and it's like I said, it's more than just the house. Like anybody can go, well, how many rooms and how many square feet, and
A lot bigger than the house.
Yeah, so I try anyway to get to know my clients, and teaching definitely got me prepared for this type of a career.
I was just going to ask you, how does teaching kind of get you into real estate? Which is almost kind of like black and white, you're thinking.
You have to have a system.
You have to have a system.
Right? If your classroom doesn't have a system, you're going to have mayhem, right? And that's a problem.
Join the Palm Harbor Chamber of Commerce to boost your network, attend exclusive events, and support local businesses.
Right?
You have to have that control.
So you have to, it's kind of the same. You have to, so I take a lot of training, and I'll just say my brokerage, Berkshire Hathaway, provides free coaching, which is amazing, one-to-one free coaching, along with coaching that we do, and classes that we have, workshops if you would, and we use the primary ninja selling, and it's a methodology that incorporates all the things we've been talking about, but it's not like you learn that you really do have to have a system, and the most successful people are putting these systems in place, and they're successful. And for as successful as I am, I'm about to retake a ninja installation for a week. I took one 2 years ago, and it really changed me. And I'm like, I'm ready. Like, it's almost like when you watch a movie the first time, and then the second time you get more out of it.
Right, exactly.
I'm about to go into a 1 week
you're
installation
gonna learn something.
because I know a lot of what I took is enhancing my business, and I can tell you that top producers even that I know that I started with at the same time, I know they're just doing their ninja better than I am. So, systems in place, and then the chamber. So, for instance, one of the benefits, and I don't mean to jump around, but
that's okay.
But
we're going to dive into it.
One of the great benefits that I've kind of put it all together was my partner and I decided that we wanted to start having first-time homebuyer classes.
Okay.
And we're hosting them here at the chamber. We're hosting them once a month, and we're educating them. And we have literally, once again, a system. We have it all laid out the way a teacher would, right? Because if we're going to teach you how to buy a house, there has to be a beginning, middle, and an end, and all the moving parts. And we, once again, the chamber has been able to fortify me with relationships, certainly with your title company, and being an inspection company, also insurance, lenders, right? So all of these people that I've been able to meet here, and then been able to say, hey, we're going to have this first-time homebuyers class, and we invite them and to come and speak as well. So it's not just coming from us. Each person in their trade is able to give that piece of information better than we can, because as realtors we know we're supposed to stay in our lane, right? And so it's very beneficial. Like I said, that all of that has come together for me over I guess a 2.5 year period, where that's where this has brought me to, and it's brought us to this place where we're able to do that.
Well, I think it's good education, right? If that person comes in and goes through the whole process, the beginning, the middle, and the end, they walk out the door like, wow, I learned something from Bren and her colleagues. I learned something. I think I really understand a little bit more about, yes, I am a first-time home buyer, what I need to do.
And we're keeping in touch with those relationships.
Sure.
And it's amazing. One even came back to us and said, hey, I inherited this piece of land, 16 acres, and it's out in Citrus County, and you can only get to it by boat. Right. And I actually have several people who are already interested, but they said, could you sell it for us so we can, clean up our credit, and then and then we're gonna do everything, to buy a house. So we're in tune with them, and so it was just like, wow. And people, I think, in general, and this is no matter what it is, we're always afraid of what we don't know, right? And we make assumptions about what we don't know. And even if you're a seller of a home, and I'm doing a listing presentation for you, a lot of times what I realize is they'll have a question or they'll have a misconception, and they'll share it with you, and we're able to clarify it, right? Or maybe just the way that I do business is not the same way that another company or another agent is doing business, and so they've had a presentation and they're like, wow, this is nothing like what I was told, and and that's
a lot more to it.
Right. And
a lot of meat and potatoes in that.
So we're able to so that part of it, like I said, definitely the teaching has helped.
Now, so take that teaching and you educating your, say, first-time home buyers, right? Now let's kind of put this into how you got involved in the chamber, because I think there is a correlation there.
There is,
Right?
because
not everybody wants to become a Palm Harbor Chamber member.
they should.
They should. Hint, hint. But how did you get involved?
So I got involved because I definitely made a staunch decision, and it was pretty abrupt. Like here's your 1 month notice. I'll be nice after 24 years. I think I've had enough, right?
Right.
Time out, right?
Right.
And I said, I'm going to do this, you know?
Okay.
And so, you know, right away I knew, you know, just from the coaching that I get, you know, they were like, you need to get involved in community. And I'm like, well, okay. So I literally signed up, not really sure of what, you know, I'm like, well, I'll give it a try. These
Right,
people look
yeah.
like they're doing a lot of things. And, you know, and so I went on the website, and certainly like within a week, I know you welcomed me, and we interviewed. You kind of were asking me what my goals were, and
Sure.
and you also like told me about all these things. And I think one of the best things was the calendar.
Yeah, right.
And
On our website.
I mean, the amount of events that we have here is unbelievable. As much as I like to, right? I've got to work too now. No, you know, but
I get it,
I
yeah.
mean that in the nicest way, in the fact
Yeah,
that
because you're
I've got to
you're
pick
a
and
one-woman band.
right. So,
So you got to be
like, I wanted to go to this week's luncheon, but I couldn't, you know, say no to someone who was serious about wanting to, you know, sell their home, and this was the only time they had
Right.
in this slot. So yeah, you know, I'm
Right. You gotta
gonna go
schedule
for that.
accordingly.
But I try to always make the agents and affiliates. I try to like block that out. I know that that's one time it's like, this is the one day no one can bug me in the morning.
Right.
You know, so I try to keep to those. But I know that when I joined, you know, I was definitely a little bit intimidated on like what was I going to find. But what I found was a group of people who were just as hungry as me. With regard to wanting to have a successful business. So the like mindset was really important. And I think one of my largest takeaways or misconceptions was the abundance versus scarcity mentality. And so I'm sure we all know Kim Adams, and I know that we know Anna Smith, right? Brokers and high level
agents, yeah.
real estate agents, and they're my friends now, you know.
Isn't it?
And
great.
we're able to also, like in our meetings or even outside of meetings, I can text one of them and be like, hey, what's going on with that property over? I think I found a buyer that's very similar for their needs, you know. And we're able to do business, but also we're able to go out to dinner and just chat and laugh about whatever that is, you know. So full circle.
Right. You mentioned Kim, you mentioned Anna, right? They're realtors. And some people think, oh my gosh, that's competition. But there's plenty of business out there.
There is.
For everyone, right?
There is, and you
but
know.
the chamber kind of brought you guys together, right? And you guys are building relationships, right? And now you guys are all good friends. You go have drinks together and coffee and food. And we come here and do our ambassador meetings and all that stuff. It's you know, the agents and affiliate. It's pretty interesting. It's kind of almost like full circle.
It's like family, you know. It's your friends and you know, people you can lean on.
Yes.
Because it's not an easy business, you know.
Right.
Or just advice. So like on the inspection, and like Melissa and Dan Manikim from SEC, they have helped me so much with understanding, learning, and being able to even guide my clients with what's going to happen with this inspection to the point where I've now made it a part of my listing package. So honestly, it's just more attractive, right? Because I'm going to not only list your home, we're going to find out what's wrong with it before we put it on the market and somebody decides to come in and ask us for discounts on your home because we didn't know, right?
But
So
Melissa and Dan at SEC Home Inspection, they just don't do that for everyone. They see the value in you. That's what I'm trying to get at.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It's very important. I think when someone joins a chamber, there's a few things they can do. They can pay for their membership and use it as a tax write-off. Or they could come to our events once in a while and hope it works, or do exactly what you've done and show up to our events when you can and use it to your advantage.
Some of the larger opportunities.
Because you're thorough.
Oh,
You're thorough being in part of the chamber. You're easy to talk to. I'm just explaining to the audience, it's very simple.
I will say this.
Some people are very complex, and some people aren't. And some people are very approachable, which you are, and we could talk about anything. We could talk about the sky, how blue it is, right? We could talk about real estate. We could talk about the title company. But it's just it's interesting of how that whole relationship started, but it's also how you help other people kind of get involved. And that's where I want to kind of go, is because our audience is thinking, wow, Bren's a very successful real estate agent. She comes from a school teacher. She's got 2 kids. That makes her tick. You know, why do I want to become a member? Maybe I'm a real estate agent. Maybe I'm not.
I will say this. One of the biggest opportunities that, and it, obviously, like, right, we look, we learn, we live. And so the first time we had that I got involved with the Innisbrook tournament that we have in December.
Oh, the golf
right?
tournament.
Yes, that's such a big event, right?
Yes, it is.
And
Fun event.
And so Kelly, Lily, and I, and this is what I mean, like, we're both with the same brokerage, so we sponsor a hole and we get our tables out and our swag, and right. And I didn't, and I'll be the first to say it, I didn't realize some of the big wig companies that were coming through.
Right.
And I mean, I was able to make friends with an engineer who has helped me now with, like, these, sometimes we have sinkhole remediations. And like, if you would have told me a few years ago that I would, because everyone's like, does anybody know where I can get a sinkhole engine? I have one of those.
I bet I'm on a golf course.
Yeah,
Our community coming together for one of our events, and then boom, you start creating relationships thereafter.
Exactly. And like I
Mind-blowing,
said,
isn't it?
you never know, like, you really never know who is going to approach you for business, but
or who you approach because they might be a newer member. Hey, I've been around for 70 years. I'd love to help you. What do you do? What's your name? How can I help you?
Exactly. And I've had members of the chamber who shall remain nameless who have said to me, hey, I'm looking to buy in a year. What do you know? And, we're having that coffee and we're hanging out and we're talking about, whatever that is and what that looks like. And, it's great because I always say everyone's got to live somewhere, right? So,
True.
So, like I said, organic leads, organic business, versus this pushy sales approach, right? That I don't think works, right? And also, little things. So here at the chamber, in supporting the chamber, I come in and we had those booklets made for the first time in a very long time. Right? So I've used them to my advantage, where I put them in with my little flyer, maybe for an open house or an event, or maybe even just a market update. We farm neighborhoods, but I'm giving them something of value that came from here, and that it helps everybody who's in that magazine. I think I've distributed 1,000 right now.
Wow.
In the community.
So she's referring to the Palm Harbor Chamber Guide. It's kind of this colored book, and it has all of our members in there from A to Z. Some of them advertised in there, but it has everything you need. I call it the Bible, more or less.
It's the homeowner's Bible.
Yep. It really does, because it's got so much in there. So much great information. You can
whether it's a plumber, electrician, a restaurant, whatever that is.
Exactly. You never know what people are actually looking for.
Yes. And so I've distributed 1,000 of those, out in the neighborhood, along with market reports and things, or just telling them about our awesome events that we do. And the charity as well, being able to get involved with giving. Giving is very important.
Giving back, right?
Giving back is so important.
Look at our Palm Harbor Fest that we have, once a year in April. We look at a golf tournament, and you, like you said, you go to a golf tournament. Okay, have some fun. It's a great event. It's during Christmas time. It's a little bit, relaxed, and all of a sudden you run into people that you can start doing business with.
Yes, and then also like we've had the cornhole tournaments and
Cornhole tournament.
you know, so there's a lot of fun infused with, you know, being able to showcase your business within the community.
Right.
Support this episode of the Palm Harbor Chamber of Commerce podcast and help us grow our community.
And just I'll be honest with you, I lived here for many years, and when I first used to visit here, I visited literally every year from the time I was 10 years old because of my uncle. And then when I moved here, you know, I didn't realize the food pantry, right? And Feast. And what an amazing place. It's mind-blowing, you know, that we have this resource in the community that a lot of people don't know about, right? And so it inspired me to get involved. And my son and I, we had a food drive, and I was just saying to my friend, I'm like, I want to have another one. And so I'm trying to see where I can fit that in. But we raised almost 800 pounds of food. I mean, that's amazing.
Kudos to you.
You
It's
know?
amazing.
And it feels good. It really does feel good to give back to community. The community that you live in, it's so important. And then some of the causes that my friends here have also taken upon, like, you know, make sure no child sleeps on the floor, making sure, Mike Alvarez,
water insurance.
and I know Pirates Plumbing is now they're going to be doing a lot with the local firemen and
good.
you know, and
Good to hear.
the rescue, you know, people. And so there's always something, you know, and I, like I said, if we can make our community better,
Sure.
like how good is that?
Yeah, and how do we do it? I mean, you brought up Feast Food Pantry, right? And when I thought of that 7 years ago when I was introduced to them, I'm like, oh, so we have a local food bank in our community. That's fantastic, right? But I didn't know anything more. And then I was invited to one of their events. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
You know, we had a chamber event at the Palm Harbor Library. I remember it was like it was yesterday. It was about almost 6.5 years ago. And they needed monies. They were in the middle of summer, and there wasn't a lot of food coming in, so they needed monies. And we raised $1,850 in probably about 2.5 minutes, just sitting there. Someone goes 500, I go 500, that goes 500, 250, 150, 1850, just like that. They were like bawling. They were just like, oh my gosh, how did you do that? I said, come together as a community.
I honestly couldn't believe that we raised 700 pounds of food or whatever it was. It was.
Right.
I was still I was like, did we just do that in a few hours? Right.
But again,
parked outside of a business on Route 19, and it was like, whoa.
But I look at Feast Food Pantry, and if that's something you want to dive into and learn more about and help our community, fantastic. But there's a parallel there, is the chamber members. Now people are going to be listening to this going, wow, maybe I should become a Palm Harbor Chamber member. Or maybe I should renew. Maybe I missed out a couple years. Whatever the reason is, this is why we do what we do. We build relationships. We have a friend relationship. You come on a boat with us. We do business together. We love helping community events. We have the golf tournaments. We have Palm Harbor Fest once a year. We have the cornhole, like you mentioned, all these different things. But at the end of the day, we're here to help ourselves, but help others.
Absolutely.
And it's very important, because there's certain things that people like to dive into. You know, like the food bank. It's not for everyone, but there's a certain core people. How do we help out? How do we do a cereal drive and get 3,700 boxes?
It was nuts. It was
of
nuts.
cereal. I remember
was
walking
nuts.
there and going, "Oh my gosh, that's what 3,700 boxes of cereal." Like I was like a cereal distribution center.
Yeah.
It was amazing, but that all went back to our community.
Yep. And you know, I firmly believe that, you know, like I said, giving back is just so important.
It is.
And finding your cause. Like I know that there's a business opening up real soon down the road here on Alt 19, and it's going to be like a doggy bar.
Oh yeah,
You know,
I think I saw that.
you know,
yeah.
and so and I also think
That's
of
coming pretty soon. Though.
right, and then I
Yeah.
think of right over here we have where I got my dog's name is Kert.
I know. It's Kurt.
Before I met you. So his
Interesting name though.
but he came from the pound, and you know, we adopted him from there. So in my mind, I'm thinking, you know, I'm reflecting on these things, and I think that's going to be one of my next adventures. Like, how can I help, you know, the puppy population,
Yeah.
if you would, you know, the animals down the street, right, in my own community.
And I don't mean to cut you off, but that's what our members do. They like to, when they start getting into the membership side of things and start to build relationships with people and friend relationships, and they're helping out the business, you see them take that next step. You know, we have ambassadors here now that help out our CEO with a lot of different events, because not everything is perfect when you go to events. You have to kind of work the process, because there is a process, to make sure all those, like the golf event, you gotta make sure the golf event is run perfectly. So it's very interesting how we kind of correlate a lot of different things with our members, because we would like them to take that extra step to help our community and help with events and be ambassadors. Even we have a board. We have a board here for the chamber. We have an exec board. So there's a lot. Once you start diving into it, oh, I didn't know you had how many people are on the board? How many people are on the exec board? How many ambassadors do you have? You know, these are the questions I get from newer members trying to get more involved.
Right, and then also just, I mean, we're in this community, and I'd like to believe that, kind of like when we were kids, right? When we were kids, we knew who the mechanic was, and we knew who the oil guy was, and we knew who the milkman, the mailman, right?
Long time ago,
yeah, you know, but you know what I'm saying, like, and so in getting to know a lot of the people right here in town, so a great example, Coastal Oil.
Okay.
I pulled in there, and
I just have the pen. I just saw it here.
there you go. That's funny. That's funny. And I pull in, and you know, I want to get my oil changed, and they do a great job. And I'm reading as I'm sitting there. I mean, does everybody know that they give 25 cents back to veterans, teachers? You know, I believe firemen, policemen, nurses. Like, who? If you don't know, you don't know. This is happening right in your neighborhood, right? And so when I was doing my little flyers, I ran out of flyers or whatever it was for whatever reason, and I kind of ran in here, and I just grabbed a stack of his postcards and I put them into my mailer, you know, and I kind of went out. And so, and my point being is that we have so many neat businesses in our community, and I firmly believe that we should support them.
Absolutely.
And they're also, without even, you know, if you did, that's if you didn't know, right? Now you know, and if you're in the know, right? They're really about helping our community.
Yeah, I think in our podcast, we probably in the last 30 minutes we've been doing this, we've mentioned probably 15 different, maybe 20 different businesses that we do business with somehow, some way, giving back or whatever it may be. It's pretty amazing. It makes you feel good. See, my hair is standing up my arms a little bit because it's nice to give back. So I think that's why, you know, looking at our audience now, they're watching this podcast and thinking, wow, you know, the Palm Harbor Chamber is pretty amazing. You know, how do I get more involved? How do I get a membership? And wow, Brenda, I want to meet Brenda. You know, she looks like she's a lot of fun, you know, and easygoing. I can talk about anything to her. So that's great. I appreciate you coming on.
Well, thank you.
It was awesome.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
I wasn't sure what to expect, but I will say this. If you're not a member, you should certainly think about being a member. If not for your own business, quite honestly, just to be more in with community.
Yeah.
And I think that that's just, you know, we're leaving our town a little bit better every time, you know.
We're all trying to put our 2 cents in, trying to help our community. Our small businesses right in our own backyard, trying to use them as much as we can, right?
Absolutely.
So, but I think one thing before we go, you mentioned the calendar, You know, people go on to palmharborchamber.com. You can go under chamber events. You can kind of see, like, for example, we're in the month of July right now. You can see every single event that's happening in the month of July.
And
go ahead.
It's some of those events too that if you really think about how to infuse, you know, your business
Right.
in with that, you know, you're making really good connections.
Yes.
Like I never thought I'd be like, yes, I'm going to be going for coffee at the library. Like, really? Like my friends are like, who are you?
Yeah.
Do we know you? I'm like, you have no
But
idea
hey,
how
I get to
good
meet
it
the
is.
dignitaries. I get
Right.
to meet the fire chief and law enforcement,
Exactly.
Parks and Rec, and Palm Harbor Commissioner Dave Eggers. What's going on in our backyard? Why is US 18 taking so long? You know, it's a lot of different questions you can find out.
Here's a good takeaway to maybe end it in, right? We're doing what Mr. Rogers told us to do. That's what we're doing.
Mr. Rogers, wow.
Right? Who are the people in your neighborhood too?
Right.
Like all that,
sitting
and like
down,
you
taking
said,
shoes off,
but when you're getting to know all these people,
Yeah.
you really are knowing the people of your community versus just I drive to work, I drive home, I don't know. You know,
Right.
it's important.
Absolutely. Well, Bren, thank you so much for being on the podcast today.
Thank you for having
Have a
me.
great day.
You too.
I'm sure I'll see you at an event and maybe the next couple days somehow, somewhere.
Without a doubt.
Don't forget to subscribe to the Palm Harbor Chamber newsletter for updates and the next episode. A big thank you to our trustees for their incredible support. This podcast was produced by ABS Photo and Video.